Let's turn our attention to Mr. John Barnett Slaughter. We last left off with the tale of Slaughter's phony police report. This was on the heels of when he, along with Micah Fletcher, Taryn Yum, Penny Okamoto, and others decided to get in my face and harass me at the vigil for the victims of the Orlando nightclub shooting. The next month, Slaughter came forward as a witness to the events of July 7, 2016, when Benjamin Kerensa and several others attacked me and pursued me up the block, leaving me with no choice but to draw my firearm to prevent further unlawful physical force from being used against me. Of course, most of you know by now that I was the one arrested and eventually found guilty of 21 counts for not wanting to be beaten and robbed. John B. Slaughter was all too willing to talk to the police about it. Let's listen in to his interview with Portland Police Detective Nathan Wollstein, where we'll hear him change his story multiple times.
So let's fast forward to the rally last Thursday. I was an organizer and a leader of the march at the police Justice Center building when we took the march from Pioneer Place. I saw him during the march. I saw him, and he was identified. When we were at the Justice Center building, it was brought to my attention right after I was done speaking to the crowd that he was in the audience. And we actually had about two different individuals monitoring him in his presence in the rally.
So he's admitting that he was an organizer and orchestrator of the entire thing, and that he had people stalking me during the protest.
And they noticed that he had his gun out several times, reloaded his gun with his clips. And yes, so at that point, when we knew where he was and saw his actions, we then had a couple of individuals move him out of the crowd.
That is completely untrue. Mr. Slaughter is providing false information to Detective Wollstein. I didn't pull my gun out until after I was attacked and pursued by John Slaughter's friends.
I'm a Black Lives organizer. I was kind of helping lead the march in the front the whole time. I saw, we connected eyes to the point where he saw me, I saw him. We knew we saw each other. And the one thing I think he didn't know was that we had people watching him in the crowd the whole time. We knew where he was, We knew where he was. There were several individuals saw him, taking his gun out, loading it, putting it back under his shirt. It was on his hip, but it was concealed because you couldn't see it.
Right.
And so, because he had his shirt over his gun. And so, yeah, people saw him clacking the gun, and it was that at that point where we were like, all right, he does need to move.
Wait, he's accusing me again of pulling the gun out and loading it at the protest, but then says he couldn't see the gun because it was concealed. He says I was clacking the gun? Is he trying to say I was racking the slide? I didn't do that anywhere near the protest. So which is it? Was I carrying concealed, or was I taking it out and clacking it? On top of all of this, if they were so concerned with my mere presence, why didn't they call the police then? Instead, they took it upon themselves to come and confront someone whom they knew had a gun? How stupid are these people? Let's listen further as the detective tries to get more information.
So, before you see Strickland and before Jelani goes in, before any of that, I thought you said that some people saw Strickland take out his gun, load it or unload it or reload it or something like that. Before any of the pushing and the...
Yes.
When did that happen, and where did that happen?
So I didn't see that. I read that in the report that just came out.
Okay, all right.
He was seen, reloading and unloading his gun. Now, I didn't see that. There were two people were watching him before I even knew where he was. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so they were the individuals who saw him and then relayed that back to us.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
But you yourself, before you read about it, you didn't have any idea that he had at some point taken out of the gun and loaded it. And
no, I had no idea. That
okay, I got you. All right, I misunderstood.
So now Slaughter is admitting that he didn't even see any of this. Scarier yet, Detective Wollstein is querying him about this as if it were fact. Slaughter and Wollstein had to cut the first interview short, but they did a follow-up call the next week. Let's listen to a part of that.
So let's see. Now, regarding the sort of rally itself, in the interview, you're telling me that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that you saw Strickland and you had some familiarity with him, but you said that two people were already monitoring him.
Yeah. And I was told this by Teresa later on, but there were several gentlemen in the crowd that already knew he was in the crowd, and that they were monitoring him. And this actually got released in one of the articles that was actually posted. There were several individuals that saw him, look at his gun, load it, clack it several times under his shirt. And so that was the reasoning that people went through the crowd to get him out. We saw him with the gun. We knew he was, I knew he was carrying. Other people knew he was carrying. They saw him engage his gun in the crowd, and that's when we were like, all right, time to take action. Let's get him out of there. So it was organized and it was strategic. We knew he was there. We saw him there, and it was pretty much probably the safest way to kind of remove him from the crowd without him discharging his gun.
Okay. So some of those people, and I remember when we were talking earlier, this came up, and I think I was confused, and clearly I was confused about it. So before he was sort of escorted or moved out, before that even happened, and before he even drew his gun later on that all the videos captured, you're saying that when he was just in the crowd, some people saw him remove his gun and check it or charge it or something like manipulate it in some way?
Or pretty much load it. Pretty much load it. And so that was the call to action. Like, all right, yes, we've seen him with his gun. We spotted him. And then it was more or less like, all right, well, yeah, he needs to be removed from this before anything happens.
It was organized and it was strategic, he says. John Slaughter and several others planned and premeditated a physical attack on me, and they thought this was the quote-unquote safest way to remove me? Hey, everyone, let's go and attack the guy who we think has a gun. How are these people even able to comprehend the concept of left foot, right foot, or breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out? It's beyond me. Mr. Slaughter's antics continued when he was called to the witness stand during my trial.
As I said earlier, there was a gentleman who came and told me that Mr. Strickland was in the crowd. Who was that? I have no idea. Okay.
So Slaughter doesn't even know who these people were whom he was involved with having stalked me. Slaughter doesn't even know who it was who told him about me in the crowd. He claims he was organizing this, but can't recall the names of the people whom he conspired with. Let's listen further as he tells the court that I was open carrying, which is a lie.
And how far away were the individuals to Mr. Strickland that were approaching him?
A good couple of, I have to say, 1 to about 3 to 4 feet away.
3 to 4 feet away.
Yeah. They were keeping their distance because he was armed. Yeah.
And you said that you could see his gun, it was just in display for everyone to see?
Yeah, it was on his hip.
Okay, so his jacket wasn't covering it?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so it was just like open carry. Have you heard that term before?
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
So his firearm was open carry?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just clarify that again. Anyone standing next to Mr. Strickland would have been able to see he was carrying a firearm?
Yes. Yes.
And now let's fast forward about 9 minutes later.
No, I had no idea. The only information that I had known that he was concealed, that he had a weapon.
And you didn't actually go into the crowd yourself to see the concealed weapon on him?
No, I stayed up on top of the steps and down to the steps as his gun was pulled, and then as the chaos happened, and it happened pretty quick, I was then up on top of the steps again with my kids.
And you didn't actually see his gun that day until he pulled it out and pointed it at people?
Yeah, I didn't see it on his hip in the crowd. There was way too many people. And so I just saw the commotion of him pulling it as he's backing up.
Okay, and so kind of information that you testified to on cross about learning, he had loaded it, if that was exposed, that's nothing that you witnessed firsthand.
No, I didn't witness any of that firsthand.
So, to sum this up, Mr. Slaughter continually changed his story, both during the interview with the detective and on the witness stand in court in front of Judge Thomas Ryan, sometimes saying I was open carrying, other times saying I was carrying concealed, but then saying he didn't know because he didn't personally see any of it. He's lying when he says I pulled my gun out several times and click-clacked it, unloading it and reloading it. He admits to being one of the conspirators in planning the attack on me, but he can't name the other people involved. He claims he was part of the organized effort to have people stalk and monitor me, but can't name the people whom he and others dispatched to do the stalking. He claims he was so concerned with my mere presence, yet didn't feel it was important enough to call the police right then and there, and instead thought the best way to deal with someone whom he thought was armed but wasn't causing any trouble was to have a mob of masked Black Panthers and anarchists physically rough me up and pursue me as I tried to get away. And somehow Mr. Slaughter is considered to be a credible witness in Judge Thomas Ryan's Multnomah County courtroom. Here at the Wrath of Laughing at Liberals, we're just getting started with John Slaughter.